Jesus Christ, that
hand's too big. Can't manipulate locks.
Welcome to the Deadzone Podcast. Deadzone is the sci-fi tabletop miniature skirmish game from Mantic Games. And now, here are your hosts Rob Harper and Jack Pike. I am your announcer, William Randolph Wintergreen.
Welcome to the 37th episode of Deadzone the Podcast for mid-July 2015. In this episode, we have more rules discussion, and we continue to talk about the Warpath Alpha. As always, you can go to deadzonegame.podbean.com to see all the pictures, or you can go to youtube.com/c/Deadzone the Podcast for the video version of this show. And now on to the episode.
Welcome to the Deadzone Podcast, episode 37. My name is Jack.
And I'm Rob, and here we are, once again, for July 2015. Early part of July. Well, middle part of July. It's been a long, arduous, we had our Canada Day, July 4th, and there was festivals. And
Yes, we've been busy. So we're...
Jack's working like a dog.
Yes, and we're a little behind on this one, about a week behind on this one, but we're gonna get back into fine form.
Yes, so we're getting right into it. And we have some news. Not much news. We have pictures of some infestation from the Kickstarter. And this time we have a picture of a concept shot of the Piper for the Veermin. And you can see like he's got like a new version of rat sworms.
Yes,
like plague swarm,
it's
but
the
rat
plague swarm
swarms.
with the rats, and I would love to have one of those.
This one's cool because it looks like it's coming out of a pipe.
Just as a if that was a single model, the swarm itself, I would want some. Not for Deadzone, not for
Just because they're cool.
I've got a little liking. It's a really nice looking concept.
Yeah, they're neat. So the Piper, he's just sending some swarms in. And right now, if you're a backer of the Kickstarter, the pledge manager is open for most of July, so you can check that out. Prepare to spend more money if you backed it.
You did.
I did only because I wanted stuff for Warpath, so I did. I think I got another Enforcer starter, or not the starter, but the one with the Striders and the Peacekeepers. So I got another one of those coming. So I'll have 3 Striders in the end. Kind of cool.
That's quite a bit of
And tons of jet bikes.
well, yeah, of course. You've been jonesing for a vehicle.
I think I'm gonna end up with 10 jet bikes by the end.
What?
Yeah, because I think it comes with 2, and I got 4 more sets.
Oh well, I should have backed the Kickstarter too, so I could have had this.
Well, there's nothing really. Yeah.
I'm playing Asterians now anyway, so.
You're going to start playing Asterians? Well, jeez. And also for Dreadball Extreme, they finally showed off the clear plastic crystallins. So they're pretty blue.
And what is it that they've got?
Well, actually, these are not the crystallins. These are the other ones that are clear plastic. The ones I painted up. They're the what are their names?
Phantasm something.
Yeah, Phantasm guys. Yeah, you can see they got the smoky kind of stuff off them, but they're the same blue plastic that the crystallins are.
Oh, look at that.
Yep, they're cool. But it's I assume you just do some wash on them, maybe paint up a little bit of them, but it'd be interesting to see how to do them.
I bet you for every person that picked them up, there's going to be a different way of doing it and a different aesthetic. The ability to have a clear body and be able to do.
They're cool as is. Like you don't even have to do much to them.
No.
Luckily, I don't think there's rules about having to paint like 3 colors up, kind of like
oh yeah,
war games in Dreadball. Because you wouldn't be able to put 3 colors on these guys. They're already perfect.
Yeah, but they look like they're made of ice. I don't know if it's just the way the photograph is, the lighting or whatever.
Yeah,
but
the bluish,
they do
cold
look
blue,
like a cold blue.
It is for sure. They're very cool. And we also have not enough for a chop shop, so I won't even play the stinger. But Community Pat did send me a cryptic message that he saw some new rules for Deadzone, and the word he used, single word, was bloody. So I don't know what that means, but bloodier is always good here.
And I would remind Community Pat that he has given us little tidbits before. We've never spilled the beans. Not once have we ever.
No, that's true.
So if he's looking for someone to do a little play testing, again, we've done that in the past. If he's looking for someone to get a little feedback,
send him on. Yeah,
we're here, Pat, and we'll do our Beasley best to make sure we give you some good feedback, and we're good for it, and our lips are sealed.
So yeah, that's about it for the news. It's summer, slowing down a bit, and they're definitely Mantic's focusing on Dungeon Saga and Kings of War right now. So right now, until that whole schmozzle's done, we won't hear much more about Warpath or Deadzone, I don't think. But once they get through that, I think there'll be a new focus on these ones.
Yeah.
And so we'll take a quick Mantic ad here, and we'll be right back, and we'll continue with our rules discussions.
You have been listening to the Deadzone Podcast with your hosts Jack Fike and Rob Harper. The Deadzone Podcast is dedicated to Deadzone, the tabletop miniature game by Mantic Games. Visit them at manticgames.com.
Hey, this is Community Pat, and you are listening to Rob and Jack on Deadzone the Podcast.
And we're back. And we're going to have our rules discussion. We've been continuing our series on rules discussions here.
Yes, please go back and listen. We've the root of this is when we were talking to Ronnie at Adepticon. We had discussed with him some of the things that he wanted to change. We were some of the stuff that we were interested in, and through that, we've taken a couple topics. I think this is our fourth installment, and we just discussed some of the rules that we think maybe in the 2.0 version of the Deadzone rules might be nice additions or changes or tweaks.
And also, it's nice to get people's feedback off of what we're talking about, and we'll start with some of that from our old buddy Clash957. And he did assure us that he's not a Phobos-based robot program to track and destroy Earthbound asteroids. I'm not sure if I believe him, but he claims he isn't. But he's on my side because he likes my idea for leadership rules, and it merged with his initiative suggestion that we talked about last time, I believe. And he said the battle cards cover well enough the command actions, and it's better for non-leader commanders to have battle cards, which is true. And he also agrees with me that it's more the eye in the sky style command. It makes it feel more sci-fi, not so much a guy on the ground pointing things out. And he found that Jack's ideas for the command kind of limited what a leader could do, and especially in small strike forces. And then he irked Jack by saying that he never played Asterians, and that would change his reasonings for things.
No, he didn't irk me. He asked if I had, and I've played everything but the Asterians. I've even played the Forge Fathers. And so true, I have not played the Asterians, and he said that the cards for the Asterians make that team what it is. So balance issues aside, and I don't know, that I would hope that a strike team could stand on its own without the cards. I still say that the cards, if you're going to make a change to one or the other, I still say leadership would be on the model or models on the board that have the ability.
Yeah, we'll have to agree to disagree with that one still.
We did.
We'll have to play it as is, unfortunately. And he also said he likes we were saying how we don't like the distract card or the distract command, because we don't like how it affects the other player. We kind of found it weird that that you could influence other people.
Fluff aside, it kind of stood out as something that didn't match the flavor of the rest. All the rest of the cards were orders you were giving to your people, and that seemed like an outside influence or a force that it just didn't mesh as far as we were concerned.
Yeah, but he said fluff-wise, maybe it's something like a flashbang grenade or a dazzling flare or something they fire off. That's not really a command action then.
No, that would be an
actual action.
Action, or
they should have a distract action then. Yeah.
Instead of a grenade, have a
have the equipment. Yeah, you can have a flashbang grenade. Yeah.
Make something like that, but.
And he said also maybe distract should be more reasonable, like a psychic test, so you could go against it, so it wouldn't automatically succeed every time. And he said Booby Trap is a decent card, and he said it is a little more than annoyance for most factions, except for the Rebs who have the scour missions. So the Booby Trap blows up something they're trying to scour, so it kind of stops them from stealing stuff.
And Z's are pretty
weak.
Weak. So
that's what he said. Z's are that a frag +1 test might actually kill them.
with an enforcer opening up a case or something,
yeah,
it's far less.
Doesn't affect them. Yeah,
far less likely that you're going to. All good points.
Yep. So thanks, Clash, and we hope to hear from other people about our discussions. And today, we're going to discuss more in depth about the removal of skills and abilities for the different all the different factions and all the different groups there, or all the people, I guess, the models. And,
which is the root. This is what Ronnie had mentioned to us first when we had discussed.
And just adding or subtracting dice and putting it on right on the stat line instead of
streamlining and making everything more easy to reference, less looking through the books, and easier to expand the world through more models, more strike teams, without having to address brawlers and what if it's a better fighter than a brawler? What's this called? What's that called? So
so the question is, which abilities would you want to get rid of and just turn into two stat line plus and minuses? Obviously, brawler. That's an easy one. We've discussed this.
We've already movement.
Yeah, the movement one's agile and
sprint.
They're kind of just add it. Let's see what other ones here might be able to do that. There's a lot that you can't because there's things like.
Are we gonna disagree again? Because
no, there's tons of abilities you can't change, like something like Beast, where they can't pick up or carry items, or like a lot of things you still need to have. I guess you could write it right on the thing, right?
We're gonna disagree again, and I can't believe that this is every time.
You can't get rid of every ability.
I'm gonna stand every ability.
Some are really long. Like, how are you gonna get rid of Blast? It's a long thing to describe. Or Frag, or like all the grenades.
I'm not talking about the effects of.
So that's the thing. A lot of those are abilities still. That's what counts. Or it burns. Those are like. There's a lot of those ones where you have to keep because it's just so long.
Those are products of the weapons. A description of the weapon that is not, say, a climb or an agile.
Yeah, there's different types of abilities, but these are all considered abilities. So I'm saying, so you can't get rid of all abilities, but ones that affect the characters, most of them, you can just write it right on their things. But the question is, some guy, I guess there's no model that's going to end up with tons, unless it's like one of the mercs, right? One of the mercenaries. They might have a lot of on their stat lines because they have more than a few abilities each. That's the only time it would get confusing if they had tons of them, right? There's just single models, so it's not even like you have to worry too much about it. But the general person will have, like, well, first of all, discipline for the enforcers. It's kind of a stupid ability anyways, but there's things like that you'd have to, it's hard to explain in such a small space.
You don't need to explain it at all. For the sake of discipline, I think is it's trying to counterbalance.
It doesn't make sense. It just means that with a get mean action, you can raise or lower your aggression.
Yes, and you're trying to counterbalance.
So you're just saying get rid of it altogether?
Yes.
They don't have that ability anymore. You never really use it, so I can see that. I guess because there isn't anything that would make an enforcer like aggressive, like so that they wouldn't be able to shoot as well. Is there ability to do that? Like, I don't think so. Like, I don't understand why you'd ever want to lower your aggression, right?
I'm just
purposely go to ground, like.
I'm just saying that possibly it's there so you can get yourself get mean, and then I don't want to do that anymore, and you're able to
pull yourself back down. Why would you ever do that? The games don't last that long for it to become like I'm a hand-to-hand fighter. Okay, I'm gonna get mean so I get the bonus. Well, now I'm calming down now.
Yeah.
I don't think games will last that long.
Give me a couple turns. I'm just I got hot there, guys. I was you know how I get. Yeah, classic me. I know. I'll get some ribbon back at the old mess hall. No, I can see why it's there, but I don't think it'll ever. The games last long enough. Nor if you have a guy with good hand-to-hand skills. If you have like the blades and you're getting yourself mean and you want to go hand-to-hand, at no point do you look down and you go, oh yeah, he's also a sniper. I should probably.
Yeah, it's not like you ever. Yeah, sure, he's got a pistol, but you're probably never going to be shooting somewhere where you want to pull yourself back. It costs a action to get mean, so you'd have to get an action to lower your thing to shoot. I'd rather just aim and shoot. It'd be the same difference.
So I again, gone.
You're right. That is one you can get rid of. And things like Firestorm, I definitely want it just to say +2 blaze away, because I never remember what Firestorm does. Like, those ones, you're just like, what does Firestorm do? Or there's certain ones that you just never remember.
And so a weapon that has Firestorm?
It just says +2 blaze away on it.
+2 blaze away.
It's only like maybe 6 more letters.
And then at some
Or
point...
you can even put +2 BA. Like, you know.
And then at some point, okay, a vehicle-mounted cannon comes out that's called the Vulcan 6000.
You could put +6 BA.
It's a BA4.
Yeah.
Oh my god, well now we have this aircraft carrier that's BA6.
Yeah. It's for those ones, anything that's plus or minus a die, for sure you can get rid of the ability.
So you don't have to go, okay, well it's a, this now, that's a turret, it's now, it's Firestormier.
So that's another thing, that beast ability, It doesn't make sense either because you don't. As
I've
long
been
as you don't
waiting
have
for
a fight ability, like because that's the whole point. You can't pick up or use items if you don't have a shoot ability, which is a stupid rule anyways. But why would you have beast on it also? Is there guys who can shoot but still a beast, so they can't pick up and use items? There might be.
I was waiting for this because that one there.
I just saw that. It was at the top of the list. That's why I said that one first.
That one I've always thought was weird considering it's already addressed elsewhere.
Yeah, it's like a redundant.
It's quite redundant. Like a lot of these
But
abilities
there might be like one creature for the plague who can shoot and has beast. Maybe. Does the Strider have beast and shoot? Maybe. But who cares? Let the Strider pick up an item, or just say Striders can't pick up items.
If it has hands, it should be able to pick up.
Yeah.
If it has tentacles, if it is able to manipulate items.
Especially picking them up, maybe not using them.
I could
Even a dog can pick up an item. He put it in his mouth.
Run back with it.
Yeah, he might not be able to use it, but he definitely can pick it up. I never liked the fact that the plague couldn't pick things up. It's stupid. And especially their leader cannot pick up an item and use it.
Can't look in a crate.
No, makes no sense.
He's operating on the field of battle with
I think we've discussed this before.
men under his control. And then he'll walk over and go, "Oh, Jesus Christ! That
hand's too big. Can't manipulate locks."
that crate's got a little.
It's got a thumbprint. Oh, my thumbs are too big.
It's like a bathroom stall, just a little tiny thing you move over, and he's just like, ugh.
Because there is a lot of abilities. We could go through like all of them. Because there is some that you can't get rid of. Gun crazy. Things like there's ones that are just really long. Own agenda is like another long one.
Okay, and Own Agenda's one, and there's another one that
It burns as long.
It burns can be attached to.
It's got a lot of things. Part of it though, that's the problem. You simplify it burns, maybe just don't make because it burns doesn't make sense either. Because you can
don't call it an ability.
It burns is annoying because it's you can get hit with fire, and as long as it doesn't do any damage for certain things. As long as the it burns doesn't work, which makes sense.
I'm just saying, it burns, blasts, and stuff. Those are weapon
Those are
descriptions.
weapon things. Yeah.
Those are, but Own Agenda, the things that come with the mercenaries more so, like the dwarf that has to get across the board and stuff. Those are very distinct. They are abilities. I'm gonna not say they're not abilities, but I will say that. They don't necessarily need to be in the book with abilities
well, you just
where
definitely
they could
limit them,
on the card,
or
on with that character.
Yep. And there's a lot of ones that's like, I think things like single shot. It makes sense that you can only shoot once. Like you don't even have to have an ability with some of these. You don't have to explain them. It's just like, well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, a sniper rifle. If your character has a sniper rifle, it should say deliberate single shot right on there. Now, if you say, okay, well, his ability is sniper. No, the weapon's ability is...
That's another thing where you shouldn't be able to snipe with a pistol.
So, it simplifies things so much to just put...
Yeah, that shouldn't be... It should be the sight that's giving the marksman, not their... Anyways, there's certain ones you could definitely... Like, mutant's one that you can get rid of for sure, because all plagues should just be able to have mutations. I think all plagues say mutant on them anyways.
Yeah, I agree there. And with the brawler, if something comes out that's even tougher,
you can add +3 or +4 to fight it.
Is that okay? Well, I've got the ability Brawler-ier.
Brawler-ier.
No, you put on the stat line +3, +3 for your fight skill. Oh, okay, right there. Now your fight skills is what it is.
I think a lot of these abilities were added just to differentiate factions and add a little bit, but it's like a lot of it's just stuff you never use or it just never comes up.
It worked probably with first 3 factions.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, the original 4.
The enforcers are pretty much the kind of the standard. So everything else was kind of okay there, and then the original 3 that are outside of that needed some stuff to kind of.
Yeah.
But I'm of the opinion that limits the game. It's too much to keep track of every time you're making a new race, a new...
Yeah, in things like Crazed, Always Enraged. Why don't you just put Always Enraged? It's like, it's not that much more space. And there is a +2 shoot. Sniper is an ability called +2 shoot.
But as we've just discussed, I don't think the sniper
should be on
is
the
the
gun.
ability.
Yeah, it should be on the gun.
Or else
the sniper character just has the ability to use the sniper gun. That's their thing, and the sniper gun gets the +2 shoot. Because getting +2 shoot with a pistol makes no sense to me. Like, I'm sorry. A pistol's, even at short range, is not as good as a sniper rifle.
But they're implying that being in a sniper's nest, all hooked up, knowing with a range card and knowing windage and knowing range and being there, and someone bursts in the door behind you and you have to use your sidearm. Oh, but I have a sniper ability, so I'm just as lethal at someone rushing me.
More lethal because you can shoot your pistol and still move. It's not deliberate like the sniper.
So to me, it's
that's another thing. Yeah, there is a lot of abilities there's abilities that characters have, and then there's a lot of abilities that guns have. They should have separated those out. Like you say, the gun should have their abilities because it's more complex things usually.
Blast. If the gun
frag, blast, all this
has
things.
Blast, that weapon does that thing.
Yeah.
Done.
Or you could pretty much half the abilities that you could have by just separating the gun ones out and still have the gun ones as a list. But
is that what?
I think that's what he might be doing.
Is that what? Okay, I was just going to ask you. Do you think that's?
I think that's what all the ones that were the gun ones or weapon ones. They'll probably still be around, but it's all the people ones that are just going to end up being in the stat line. So if it's you sprints a short action, it'll just say you could move 2 instead of 1 for one of your moves or whatever.
And if you're a brawler, your fight stat,
plus 1
they
fight,
adjust your
it'll
fight
just say
stat.
It'll probably still say brawler, but right beside it'll say +1 fight, right? Just right on the line so that you don't have to look it up. That's the thing. He doesn't. Or Ronnie was just all about you don't want to have to look things up all the time.
But also, you can just change the fight stat on the card.
But it's +1 die, not plus.
Yeah, I know it's +1 die, but statistically, you can change.
Figure out what instead of giving him a 3+, you give him a 2+, and it's count. I don't know. The thing is, the D8, I don't think it's got enough range. If you're doing like D100s or something, I'm sure you could do that. Sure.
I do admit that I have not done the math, but in my mind I thought, well, you could just change the stat line statistically overall.
Like if you're using 4 dice and trying to get a 4+, and using 3 dice and trying to get like a 2+ or a 3+, does that equal out? I'm not sure. Like, we're not mathematicians. We don't know the math here, but is a way. You're right. There is a statistical thing, but I'm not sure if D8 has enough range to get that statistic. If you had like the higher number of pips on a die.
Well, that's good because our next rules discussion is since Ronnie did discuss moving to a D20 for the Deadzone system, that would be able to.
Jack's joking. It's not turning into Infinity.
He did not say that we were going D20.
I'm sure that's why Infinity uses D20 because they do get that longer range. It also makes the game more complex.
The ability to spread out statistics, both create ranges.
You can create a much longer range, and that's why they went to D8 because they thought D6 wasn't enough range, but maybe even D8's not enough range. But I guess that's just that's a game like design thing where you can always just keep going higher. D100, what's the difference, right? D100 you have to roll 2 dice. It's a hard thing.
And this. Right then, you've reached your full range from 100% to 0%. So you're maxing out.
D20 is a fifth of that, so you get 1/5 of the 25. Yeah, fifth math. But anyways, so that's pretty much. I don't know what much more we can say. Is that all the character ones probably you can get rid of and put them on the stat line, and all the weapon ones might have to because they are more complex.
And I'm gonna say that this is probably the least helpful we've been on one of these
because it's just so clear. It makes so much sense.
That and.
He's probably going to do that anyways?
Yeah, it sounded when we were discussing it that was...
We're not adding anything to the conversation.
Well, I was going to go with erasing all of them that aren't the...
There is a lot that having just looked through the list, because I was just perusing the list, there is a lot where you're like, that never comes up, get rid of it. That never comes up. That's already... Especially redundant ones like Beast, Mutant, they're redundant.
Beast and Mutant were 2 of the ones that right off.
It's because you played Plague the most. You noticed that. I never noticed really.
Head was like okay, useless. But really, it's basically a done deal. This discussion, we're basically rearranging chairs on the Titanic right now.
I'd be very surprised to see many, if any, character abilities left. They're all going to be just in stat lines, or there might be a list of them just to have, but it won't. You'll look at a stat line and it'll have underneath that thing all the different things in short form, what they can do. So you just have your stat lines in front of you and just read them right there instead of having to flip through a book. It does after a while. You do remember especially ones you use the most.
Brawler, you can't not remember that because there's so many people that have it.
But there's just some where you're just like you cannot remember what, like Firestorm. Like I say, I never remember. There's Firestorm and there's another one. They have similar names, and I can never remember which one's which. One is Firestorm gives you +2 to your blaze away, and the other one means you always have to blaze away. And I always forget which one's which. So, But anyway, so let's move on. That was a nice discussion.
Nice discussion.
Didn't help much, but it was a nice discussion.
And if you have any input, please let us know. We're always interested.
And explain to us why discipline is good. If there's some trick, maybe there's a trick to it that we're just not getting, that you never use discipline for enforcers.
There might be like some loophole where you make yourself aggressive right off the... If you come out aggressive and then you're able to do something and then you...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because the only thing really that aggression gives you is it gives you a minus to shoot and a plus to melee, right? Is that the only thing aggression gives you? It doesn't give you a bonus to movement or anything.
But maybe like, I don't want to be suppressed, so I move myself real aggressive and I run across the field and I'm able to sustain.
And then you wouldn't get pinned as easy.
And then once you've gotten to your location,
then
maybe
you take it down.
But we've never.
Once again, the games aren't long enough.
The boards are not that big.
If it was a free action, like if you could just do that, I could see it for sure. But wasting a
whole
short
turn
or like a short action just to do something.
Sometimes the games are 3 to 7.
Because it's like I could see if you wanted to get your sniper somewhere, you didn't want him pinned. You'd run up, get mean. So you move but then you're losing one movement. Once you get there, you can't shoot because you have to get mean to lower your aggression because it's a deliberate action, so you have to take your full shot. So I can't.
Again, if you know something that we don't, it's a trick. Cards
are free, and there is get mean cards.
So you make yourself mean.
Run up. You're still using a get mean to move.
But if you have to get across a board, and since you're the enforcers with initiative and you never go last, you can run like right through the center. You can
and if they're trying to pin you, you have less likely to be pinned. You'll just get knocked down one.
So you're back down to where you're supposed to be at worst.
But also, Blazing Away, I find pins almost always anyways. It always does more than enough to knock you right to the ground most times anyways.
Well,
please let us know if that's what the whole thing is, that you could just...
I was just spitballing.
Yeah, that's the only way I can see it.
There might be some other reasons, right?
There's no real point ever to reduce your aggression. Okay, so we'll take a short break. We'll hear from our buddy Adam at the Strike Zone, and we'll be right back. Oh, and before I go to that, Adam does have a new show on his Strike Zone called The Zone, I believe it's just called, for his Extreme. He's getting into Dread Ball Extremes.
Yes. I have listened to the first one. That was an introductory show. It told the differences between the two, and it was very interesting. Yep. So please check it out.
Yep, for sure. And we're right back.
It is time for a brief message from our friends at One More Radio.
This is the Strike Zone.
Yo, Dreadball fans, the Strike Zone podcast is all about entertaining, educating, and informing you about everything Dreadball. We record twice a month, are an hour long, and are child-friendly. You can look us up on iTunes with the keywords Dreadball and Strike Zone, or on our main website, www.oremoreradio.com.
Enter the Strike Zone.
Welcome back to the Deadzone Podcast. Now for a segment we call Our Stuff.
And we're back. And it's to that section we call Our Stuff.
Our Stuff.
So, Jack, what have you been doing?
You want to know what I did?
Yep.
You know that Crystalline with the wonky arm?
Yes.
Bothered the out of me. I could not... I fixed his arm.
You cut it off and repositioned it?
I did. I repositioned his arm. I changed the angle in which it's... even though it was painted, I was able to hot water the arm and get it to a different angle.
Oh, you hot water? You didn't even cut it?
And I cut it too.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I did because I could not leave it.
Yeah, you were annoyed by that. And you can see the pictures. We're going to have some pictures of this, obviously. And for me, it was just more Dread Ball Extreme miniatures. I painted up the orc brickbat, and he's looking orky.
Looking very orky, very...
And I did a little pig guys, and I painted them 2 different colors on their shoulders so they could tell them apart. And I did the...
oh, look at him.
The bugs, and I did them slightly 2 different colors so you could tell them apart.
They, so you don't know the real names of these things?
I know he's brickbat, the ogres, or the orcs brickbat. These guys are
pig
like...
guys and little bug guys?
Yeah, I don't know their names.
Okay.
You can tell we don't play Extreme.
Yeah, well, I really like the light green
bug guy.
That bug guy.
He's pretty cool. I liked how he turned out. There's a lot of washes on that guy for sure.
It looks like I don't know, like a chitinous armor,
Yeah.
but the face kind of looks District 9.
Yeah, the face, yeah, for sure. Now you say that. Yeah, I always thought it was more of like a skull, but yeah, he looks like...
He looks District 9, but
He
then
does.
the armor, the back, everything kind of looks like...
He looks like a pill bug, I find. He looks like he could curl into a little ball and roll places.
Very nice.
And there's the shot of their backs. You can see the two different backs there.
2 different colors, so in case you have to...
Yeah, if you ever feel
One or
both
the
of them,
other.
I guess.
And now, a review from your hosts at the Deadzone Podcast.
And also in this section we have a review.
A review. What are we going to review today?
We're going to review the Cargo VTOL from Mad Mecha Guy. He's at madmechaguy.co.uk, obviously in England. And he does a ton of different, especially 15mm, but he does some 28mm stuff. This is a 28mm Cargo VTOL, so he does vehicles, which is kind of cool, which is great for scenery. And it's regularly 16 pounds, so only $25. And for $25, you either get the fans or the thrusters. And we'll show this is what the VTOL looks like. And on the you have to buy your own magnets, but you can magnetize this. The picture of the one that says Cargo VTOL doesn't show the fans or the thrusters on, but they go on the ends of the wings. And you can see the thrusters and fans look like this. That's like the fans you can go on, so to be more low tech. And then the thrusters are more like jets you can put on there.
Okay.
They even have holes to put the magnets on, which is cool.
So the fans look more like a Harrier type.
Yeah. More a little lower tech, and then you got the thrusters for the high tech.
That look more like a, say, what's going to be the Raptor with the...
Yeah. And it also comes with either a shipping container, a cargo pod, or a passenger pod. And it's because it's a lifter. Kind of, they have these now for I think they're helicopters, right? And there is a helicopter version of this too, actually, but we got the non-helicopter version. But
I think it's the Hind that the Russian.
you can lift up
famous
things.
one,
It's got like an empty center.
Yes.
And so magnets are extra, but you can magnetize everything here. And also, a weird thing is that when I was putting it together, it all came separate. Once again, another small company doing non-sprued stuff, which is great.
You know what else is weird is this is the first one that you didn't bring to me in pieces in the box. It's almost as though you couldn't help yourself and you just had to tear it open and build it right away. Like as we scroll down and I start seeing like a Deadzone mouse pad in one corner.
Yeah, that's
and
my desk.
And then I start seeing, the things out of the wrappers. Usually the reviews are like a two-man operation.
No, not this time.
No, I'm not.
So yeah, this is the whole, all the bits, and it, like I say, sprueless, it's great. And then this is the bits for the cargo container, and there it is built.
Yeah, almost as though you built it yourself in your own home without...
Yeah, well, that's because we haven't seen each other for a long time. Now I'm waiting.
That's weird.
And then the fans. The weird thing about the fans is you need a skewer to go in the middle of the fan, and you can see in this picture the skewer. Luckily, I just happen to have in my house the right size skewer. You don't need it, but if you want the fans to turn, you could just glue the whole thing together like a sandwich. But if you want things to turn, you have to put the skewer in the middle so you can make your fans turn.
Oh.
And they don't include it for some reason. But luckily, I just happen to have it in my house. But like I say, you could just glue the whole thing together and it wouldn't turn. Not a big deal. The fans are cool. There's 4. You get 4 fans. And then you also get the thrusters, which are just cool looking. I like how all the design is actually burned into the
surface.
Yeah. Even you even get little things to put your magnets in, which I like a lot. Look, you glue it on this side, and you don't have to worry about drilling a hole for your magnet. It's already there.
And it looks like it's probably the standard size for a rare earth magnet that you
it's
pick
a certain
up on.
size. It tells you what size to get too. And that's what the thrusters look built.
I'm a fan of the fan.
I'm a fan of thrusters. I haven't gotten magnets yet, and I haven't painted yet. Once I get the magnets and painted, I'm going to put it all together and show it off as is put together.
For both
It's going
configurations.
to be all magnetized. I ordered the magnets. They're just not in yet. China. Takes a while to ship. And then there's this is the cargo pod version. It's got some windows instead of the other one, which had looked like a cargo container. This one's a cargo pod. For some reason, there's windows. Maybe for the Raptors when you're transporting Raptors.
I would guess one is a troop transport and the other is just for rare earth magnets from China.
Yeah, exactly. And pretty easy to put together. Like it was, not complex. It's a nice little box. There it is with the ship on the box. And I love how the ship itself looks like a kind of like a transport truck. Like it's just like a box,
The cab, the
cab
cab of
yeah.
the truck front.
Yeah,
rather than a cockpit. Yeah.
And then they do like a passenger pod, which reminds me of like a gondola or something. You know, it's like a...
Like you would be taking that up the Alps
Yeah.
on your way on your ski trip to the...
It's like for the high-scale customers, they get to get transported in this little passenger pod, which has more windows. That's pretty much the difference. And these all have the holes for the magnets too, which is great.
And they all magnetize the same way, so
Yep,
you
and
can
it's just
interchange one to the other.
interchangeable.
Well, I think I told you before when I saw the pictures that I don't know if I really love or really hate the aesthetic.
I like it because it's kind of industrial. Like it's just something that you'd use to like like a shipping yard to move stuff around.
I will hold my opinion until I see it with
Painted and the magnets on them.
Well, at least with the fans and thrusters
Yeah.
configuration. Right now, it's
Even me, I'm not sure what it looks like with fans and thrusters on it yet.
So
There's no way to secure them to the magnets.
So I'm not even going to give you
haven't actually seen it physical form.
I
yet.
haven't even touched it. I
Yeah.
haven't. So I will not give. Well,
It is quite. I will say it's quite large. I'd say it's a good foot and a little bit more long. It's quite large.
We're going to have to readdress this.
Yeah,
but,
I'll paint it up and I'll put it as part of my. One of these times I'll put it as part of our stuff.
our stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, but it looks like it's right up your alley. It's something that you've been
Vehicles, and they have the Mad Mecha Guy. He also makes a. It's called Hercules, I think it's called. It's a huge ship. And he said he would have sent it, but it would cost an arm and a leg to send to us because it is coming from England. But I might have to invest in it because it is awesome. It's like a giant spaceship, so it's pretty cool. And he does a bunch of other stuff. And you can buy just the cargo containers and stuff, and it's all really well done.
Well, check them out if you're looking for any, even just for scenery, even if it's not a playable piece. If you're just looking for something to
that's why I would see this more of a scenery piece. I don't think you'd be, or maybe even a scenario piece where the ship is flying off or something.
Yeah. Well, check it out and take a look, and we will revisit this again and discuss more.
MadMechaGuy.co.uk. And another quick break, friends at Ironwatch, and we're back to talk about Warpath again.
It is time for a brief message from our friends at Ironwatch Magazine.
Do you like Mantic games? Do you want to read about your favorite games in a monthly magazine? Have we got the offer for you? Iron Watch Magazine. Iron Watch brings you the latest news, articles, and short stories taking place in the Mantic universe. Dreadball, Kings of War, Deadzone, Warpath. You want it? They got it. Ironwatch.wordpress.com. Get it now for the low price of free. You can't beat that at twice the price. That's ironwatch.wordpress.com. Download now.
Hey, this is Jack from the Deadzone Podcast, and you've been listening to the Deadzone Podcast.
With Jack from the Deadzone Podcast.
So much Deadzone Podcast, it'll make you vomit.
And we're back to talk about Warpath again.
Hopefully this time we get the rules a bit right. Last time we were a little loosey-goosey. We only had the rules for a few days at that point. But
Yes, and like anything, you give something to read, and
it may not comprehend exactly what it's saying.
No, and it's discussions like the ones we were having, and then we've had since, and even rereading the rules
And reading other people's telling us we got it wrong.
That's how you figure these things out, because we have not played yet.
No, we haven't got a chance to play it. So this one we'll continue on to more of the combat for this one. We'll talk about charging, shooting, and assault. And with that, we'll go start with charging. Last time we talked about charging a little bit, but anytime you move a guy within 1 inch of the enemy, it's a charge. And the attackers make an assault action, which we'll talk about later, and gain a charge bonus on that assault action. Makes sense. It's kind of like Deadzone when you charge in, you get the bonus when you run into it when you're melee that first round.
Yes.
And it also, like Deadzone, charging doesn't take an action. You move within 1 inch of the enemy, and that's a charge. Same ideas. I like that where it's just like
it's an automated thing.
Yeah, it's just if you get close to somebody, you charge them. But neat thing is when you get charged in this, the defender gets a chance to defend. So as long as they're not activated, grounded, or already engaged, they can react with a move, blaze away, or regroup, which we'll discuss all these later. So you can either move, try to get out of their way, you can shoot at them, or you can regroup is a different thing altogether. We'll talk about that another time.
So basically they're in a semi-Overwatch position.
Yeah. Well, it just means that people are running at us.
And since you aren't activated, you're able to do it, and so you don't have to declare that you're prepared.
So if you're like playing and somebody's it's close enough to charge, you're like, well, I'm not going to use that unit yet. I'm going to wait for them to charge, but then they might be like, But then you might want to charge them, and it's really it's pretty interesting. And if the unit defending unit is in defensible terrain, which is a term, they always get a reaction unless engaged. So even if they're tapped, as it were.
If they've already been activated, they can still defend
because they're in a defensible place.
Okay.
And if they're in fortified terrain, they can also choose shoot as a reaction instead of the other one. So you can actually just start damaging them instead of just trying to keep their heads down. Because Blaze Away, the thing with Blaze Away is, as we'll discuss later, you could stop the charge because you could pin them.
Right.
Where shoot, you could actually do some damage to them as they're running up to you.
Might even decimate them to the point where they're committing to the charge is
less people there.
Is either is going to be fatal to them or far less dangerous to you.
And if you move or Blaze Away or any of these actions, remove, Blaze Away, or shoot, it marks the defenders have activated. So even charging them, you could activate a model even if you charge them with a group you know is not going to win, but at least you activated those guys if they just decide to defend, right? And regrouping is done for free because that's just it's pretty much regrouping is almost like Get Mean in Deadzone when you're trying to get some suppression off of you so you're not so hurt. And if you move as your action, the defenders, they can't move into another fight. They have to move away. And the shoot or Blaze Away don't need to have line of sight because it's presumed that the attackers are going to be on them, even if they're not. You can't see them at first; they're going to be on you eventually to shoot them. So that's pretty clear for charging. It just makes sense. Pretty much, it just means you get into melee with people. And as you'll hear later, melee fighting in this is devastating because they're pretty much like if you get hand to hand in sci-fi, there's going to be some laser swords and gnawings of teeth and things. So we'll get into shooting first, though. Shooting, if you want to shoot, you can't be engaged with the enemy. I think it's the same as Deadzone. And you may use any of your ranged weapons as long as they're in range. That's the key. And the great thing about the rulebook is these short rules here. They have a 1 to 7 things you do while you're shooting. So you pick your target. All of your teams in your unit must shoot the same target. And you can't shoot an enemy that's engaged with your men, because otherwise you're risky shooting your own guys. Line of sight, obviously you have to have line of sight of your guy. That's number 2. Number 3 is range. You can measure from your hub of your guy, as discussed last time. And you can shoot all the weapons in range. And some guys in your unit might not be in range, they just don't get to shoot. And there's also things like minimum ranges for things like mortars and things, just like Deadzone. And you can measure at any time to see if you can shoot a target, which is great. I hate the games that
you have to guesstimate.
Yeah.
And if you're not within range, you just miss.
Yeah, you're just wasting action because you're a quarter of an inch out of range. Bullets don't just stop like that. It makes sense. You're just like, okay. Or even range finding is not, especially in the future. Range finding is pretty easy.
I would think that any heads-up display in a enforcer's helmet would tell you exactly how far away something is.
And these boards aren't, like, even a 6x4 board is probably only representing, not even a mile. Like, it's pretty close ranges, right?
You could fire a rifle 700 meters is not outrageous. That's pretty standard for an engagement.
Even, when you're in the military, when you're looking at something, you could usually tell how far away it was.
Yes.
Especially human-sized targets.
You trained a lot to do that.
Yeah, so it's training. That makes sense. And then number 4 is your fire. So you take your dice equal to your weapon's power, and if your certain weapons have different AP, armor piercing, you have to roll those separately, because otherwise you don't want to get mixed up. And you roll your dice and compare it to your accuracy stat. And then there's modifiers like short range, targets in cover, you get a negative. Target is fortified terrain, you get a negative. And if you're suppressed, you get a negative, which makes sense. And 1s are always fails. And 6s always succeed, but do not explode. So that's one thing. There's no exploding 6s on this, in shooting.
On shooting. Other things, there are exploding.
For vehicles, which we'll talk about a different day, there is exploding. Which is kind of interesting. Because I guess it signifies you might get a lucky shot on a vehicle. It's kind of interesting.
I was under the impression it was when vehicles shot.
I don't know. I think it's shooting at vehicles, but we'll see.
Oh, okay.
And if you hit with anything, the target gets a suppression token. We'll talk about suppression later. And damaging target takes all successful dice and roll again. Just means that you roll against their defense stat to see if you did any actual damage. And each success does 1 damage, and it's that represents actual damage, but also decline in unit morale. So that's what suppression is. Eventually, they're going to be making tests to see if they either get destroyed or get routed. And some units have a defense higher than 6, thus impossible to damage without modifiers. So there is some some things you cannot damage. And 6s don't always succeed on damage, whereas 6s always success earlier. Here, for damaging, it's not always. And then armor piercing gives you a plus to your damage rolls. So that's how you get above 6 if you get AP. And then you remove casualties, which which you never remove guys from any of these games, for the mass battle games, because you couldn't have them based on a single base, just like in Kings of War. But removing casualties is just you comparing your damage to their break threshold and seeing if anybody runs. And if so you could lose in a unit, you know how a unit's made up of a bunch of teams. If the threshold gets reached, you remove a team of the target's choice, so you get to remove your own guys. And you add a suppression token to that whole unit. And then there's things like if you kill a guy that's in the middle of the unit, so the unit is no longer in coherency, the next time they have to get close to each other again. They have to pull back together.
Forces them to create a block again.
Yeah. And then you roll suppression checks to see if they get grounded or not. Once they're grounded, it's just bad things happen for you. And at the end of the round, there's no more damage. The only thing that stays is suppression tokens. The actual damage is just wiped out at the end of the round.
So you're not keeping track of
damage. You're only keeping track of suppression. It's kind of interesting.
It is the damage only. It's a means of measuring consecutive damages. It's
more of a morale,
rather than they are physically this.
Well, it's that too. There's guys getting, but that affects morale. Like a guy getting killed next to you affects your morale.
Exactly.
Right?
This isn't through attrition of model per model.
Yeah, it's not Deadzone where guys are just getting blasted.
This system involves the cohesive unit and how it's affected.
And then next the ability would be Blaze Away. So just like in Deadzone, it's pretty much you're spraying bullets to keep the people's heads down. And it's the exact same as Shoot, but the accuracy is 6+, because it's just random firing. You don't get to use your accuracy. And there's no modifiers, and you don't roll for damage. All hits are applied as suppression tokens. This is how you add tons of suppression onto a guy.
And they have to.
They have to either use abilities to get rid of it.
I'm doing air quotes to start removing.
That's that regroup thing is. And then next time if you shoot at them, all those suppressions will add to the chance of them break too. So you might want to blaze away at someone first and then start shooting them. It's kind of interesting. And then the last thing is Assault, which is the hand-to-hand combating. And you don't roll to hit. It's assumed that damage will be done immediately. It's just brutal. It's hand-to-hand combat is brutal. So you don't even bother roll to hit. So you skip that whole thing. You go right to rolling for damage. And the attacker takes damage, or takes dice equal to their power of their assault weapons, which have an A next to them. And then the defender takes his assault weapon power and activates the unit to get attacked. And already activated defenders take half the dice. So if you chose to defend the charge, you only get half your dice when you're actually taking the charge. Like, that's your choice there. You can either shoot them as they come at you, or have more chance to fight them when they hit you.
A bit of a Sophie's choice.
Yeah.
Where you it's a tough decision, but you either try and damage them as much as possible before they get to you.
Yeah. Or stop the charge. Yeah.
Or say, okay, when they get
take
here,
it, but we're going to give it back.
You're going to give it back.
And then if you're grounded, which is adding a lot of suppression to you, you don't get to retaliate. So they just jump on you and just stab the shit out of you. And each player rolls dice equal and compares to each other's defense stat. And there's modifiers, +1 for the charger, plus for armor piercing, minus rolling if suppressed. And ones always fail again. And once again, if the defender's defense is more than 6, you might not be able to damage them. And then you assign damage. Both sides take their damage, and the winner is the unit who took the least amount of damage. So if you're charging in, you're both getting into a major fight.
And it's very easily can go one way or the other depending on how suppressed they are and how many how many dice
get lucky
got
and destroy
good rolls on.
And then if you draw, it's both. If you equal, it's both count as losing. And then you remove casualties, same as shoot. And then there's the last thing here is the last thing for defenders is there's something called flee. The losing side might flee, even the defenders might flee. You add damage to suppression, and if you reach one of their break thresholds on their stat lines, the team is removed, and that means they got beat if they ran away. And if in a draw both sides do this, so you could end up having two people clash together and everybody dies because it could be both teams. Meet their thresholds.
Mutual destruction.
Yeah, mutual destruction. And then there's a follow-up, just like in Deadzone. If the loser unit is completely removed, the winner gets a free move action, but cannot be, and unlike Deadzone, you can't use it to jump in and fight again, because they're tired. They just got a major fight. And if the loser was in a terrain piece, the winner may freely occupy it, and there was no winner or no unit was destroyed. Obviously, you don't get a free move, just like Deadzone. And that's pretty much it. That's fighting in
Pretty simple.
Yep. It's... Obviously, charging is, if you're good at charging, if you have like a unit I bet the Plague will be great at charging.
It sounds like they want, It's messy in the melee.
Yeah.
It's just going to be just a bloody mess. So you would really have to be careful. You
have to be overwhelmingly better than the people you're charging, or desperate, or just go for it and see what happens.
It sounds like
because it is bloody. It's both ways.
It sounds like they want you to make it a multi-stage fight where you start by suppressing them a bunch.
Then charge in. Yeah, if you can get someone grounded and then charge in, you're pretty much going to kill them.
Rather than like my unit's going to charge them. Okay, my unit's going to charge them. It sounds like there's a certain procedure.
Almost more realistic where you suppress someone and then you assault, right?
You can't just crash into the front of another unit every time and expect to.
You can't expect to not take a lot of casualties if you're doing that. And it sounds fun. I really can't wait till we get some of this on the board here because it should be fun.
We've got some time today. Maybe, just maybe, we'll get a game or two.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We also want to play some Deadzone.
That's true, too. Time is of the essence.
Yep.
What do you say we just let these buffoons get rid of these guys and we'll just start playing?
Okay, well, we better get going then. This has been another Deadzone the Podcast, and I've been Rob.
And I'm Jack.
So we'll see you next time. Play more games. Oh, wait, copyright.
Thank you for listening to the Deadzone Podcast. I have been your announcer, William Randolph Wintergreen. Visit the website, deadzonegame.podbean.com. Email your hosts at deadzonepodcast@gmail.com. On Twitter, you can follow the show at Deadzone Podcast. The Deadzone Podcast is a production of Vinland Old Time Radio Productions. You have been listening to the Deadzone Podcast. And now, a word from the fine folks at Vinland Old Time Radio.
You think this is funny? Oh, you don't?
Oh.
Then maybe you'll find Vinland Old Time Radio more of your liking.
More of your liking indeed, Rob.
VinlandOldTimeRadio.podbean.com. It's where the funny lives.